It's early morning and Sonam Zangmo is preparing to see her patients. First, she goes into a trance so a spirit can take over her mind and body. As she transforms, her tiny lounge room fills with sick families. They want help with sleepless children, infertility, even blindness. Young Chun Palkit wants a cure for 2 cracked ribs. Sonam Zangmo is what's known as an oracle, a mystical Tibetan Buddhist healer who's believed to have magical powers. That's just as well for her, given some of the treatments. While the oracle believes in her healing powers, she recognises the limitations. Her advice to young Chung Palkit is to find a Western-trained doctor. The session takes a heavy toll on the oracle, who inherited her role at the age of 4 when her mother died. Once the last patient is gone, the spirit departs and an exhausted Sonam returns. Even at the age of 82, she doesn't feel able to give up her calling. The oracle is part of a complex system of faith-based healing that spread to northern India from neighbouring Tibet. Almost every village here has an amchi, a Tibetan folk doctor who mixes potions from flowers and herbs and practices traditional healing. What many don't have is access to hospitals or trained doctors. The result is one of the worst health records in India. But a British-born Australian adventurer wants to change that.
In some of the more remote villages, the rate of infant mortality could be something in the region of about 1 in 2, which I think on anyone's standards nowadays is unacceptable.
Gary Weir knows Ladakh as well as an outsider can. He's spent 30 years here pioneering trekking routes for Western visitors. The region is often called Little Tibet for its cultural similarities with its neighbour.
And of course it's wonderful for us walking through as sort of trekkers to idealise the whole situation. But yeah, for them, life is hard. It is very much dependent on the elements. And it isn't quite so sort of as idyllic as some people sort of make out as some sort of glorified Shangri-La.
One of the toughest places is in the isolated Zanskar Valley, which is cut off from the capital Leh by high mountains. Gary Weir's aid group, the Australian Himalayan Foundation, is trialling a radical experiment here to bring traditional care into the modern age. Just a generation ago, the only way to reach this area was by yak train. Even now, the main road in is just a rough dirt track. Our destination is the main town of Zanskar, a dusty administrative outpost called Padam. Gary Weir has organised a week-long seminar here to train local Amchis in modern health practices. Many of them have had longer journeys than us, walking for days over the mountains for the final bus ride to the seminar. It's the first time many of these Amchis will be exposed to Western medical theory. Trained doctors have been brought in from Leh to teach them, but they won't be telling the Amchis to abandon their traditional medicine.
The big problem about the Zanskar is that many of the villages are many days away from the nearest roadhead. So if there is going to be a problem, well, primary health care is virtually equated to the Amchi system.
The aim is to educate the Amchis in basics like nutrition and modern hygiene, and to help them judge when patients should seek out doctors. Most of these village healers are illiterate and unqualified, but they're the only care for people in remote villages. The chief instructor, Punsok, is both a doctor and a fully qualified Tibetan medical specialist. To Westernise, some Amchi practices can appear dubious. News of the seminar drew dozens of locals seeking treatment. This woman suffers from dizziness and nausea. Instead, she's about to be burned with a hot poker. The Amchi insists this will cure her suffering. But Gary Weir is convinced they have to work with the existing system rather than try to replace it.
There's a lot of positive things that come out of the traditional medical practices that have been practiced in Tibet for many centuries. What we've been looking for is a way in which we can combine the best of both worlds.
His main focus is on the young women now becoming Amchis, a role that was traditionally passed down from father to son. They're keen to learn the most effective treatments, even if they're not traditional. Rigzin Yangdon, who's 30, came to the first seminar a year ago and has walked for 3 days to come to the second. As part of the aid project, Yangdon and a group of other young female Amchis spent 3 months in the main hospital in Leh, learning to care for pregnant women.
She's the one. I had a tough time with her. She had PPH.
This woman came all the way from Zanskar to give birth to twins. But most women live too far from hospitals, or they're uncomfortable dealing with strangers, even for serious illness. In a village close to Padam in Zanskar, we met Sultia Zangmo. She was blessed with a healthy baby boy, but when he fell ill with a cold, she thought he'd been cursed by the devil. Her son was just 3 months old. In the most remote villages, 1 in every 2 children will die before the age of 5. But Yangdon is determined that won't happen in her village, where she's the first female Amchi. The nearest hospital is 50 kilometres away, a daunting distance in a region where few can afford a car. But she encourages them to make the effort.
Okay, so we have the seminar to continue. We have the provision of instruments. And
It's only a year since Gary Weir's project began, but it's been embraced by the district's Amchis. They leave with a fresh supply of flowers and herbs, enough for several months of medicinal treatment. The next challenge is to extend the program throughout Ladakh. For Gary Weir, it's a nice thought to contemplate as he prepares for his next trek through a land he loves.
I suppose the real motivation is that over the years so many Australian people have come through various parts of the Himalaya and have wanted to put something back in one shape, form or another. I think wherever you go in the Himalaya, people have got so much to offer you. It's just a wonderful experience. I don't know what I'll do in my next incarnation, but this one I'm certainly pleased with anyway.